What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So tomorrow we do have that PlayStation showcase. I'm looking forward to it. I will be live streaming it here. Hopefully we see some big stuff from Sony, but it turns out this showcase keeps leaking online. At least several of these leaks have been circulating all over the place, and many people sent them to me. I thought we'd take a look at one here for some fun, since, to be honest, it's been kind of quiet as we're all waiting for this showcase to happen. Also, we're going to be talking about a big announcement that's finally been made. Many Alan Wake fans, I'm sure, are really excited now as it's been made official. And we're also going to be talking about Nintendo, Metroid Prime, Retro Studios, and how they dealt with crunch after the first game. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep updated with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Star Wars double packs that appear to be headed to the Switch here pretty soon. Now, these will be from THQ Nordic, and this seems to happen every time. Like, I'll see a really cool game like Jedi Academy or Jedi Knight or Jedi Outcast, and I pick it up. Turns out there's a physical copy coming later on, and then you end up buying it again. Well, we can see these double packs here. This was posted up by Nintendo Life and has been updated several times, as it appears to be an ongoing saga of retail listing after retail listing, where we have the release date for both double packs, according to Amazon, is November 16th. Although the game rental service Gamefly still has the date shown as October 26th. I'll hand it to Gamefly. They're usually pretty accurate with their leaks or their accidental listings from what I've seen, but we have two different double packs here. We have Star Wars Racer and Republic Commando, and then we have the one that I probably have to pick up because I'm a big fan of the Jedi Knight series. We have Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. Like I said, it happens every time. You know, I'll pick up one of these games digitally, and then here's a physical copy coming out. I'm just letting you know, if you were someone who was maybe looking at these on the Switch eShop, might be worth holding out just to see what the price is around these, because obviously it's better if you can to get it completely physical, and that means really, I would assume, we're going to see both of these games on a single cartridge. I don't know when they're going to announce it. Seems like something that they might just throw on Twitter, although I guess THQ Nordic has a showcase coming up here in the coming weeks, but this doesn't seem like something that they would probably be talking about there, as they're looking to more or less focus on sequels and big announcements around new games. Also, we have Far Cry 6 coming out next month, and I gotta say, I keep forgetting about this game. I don't know if it's just me, because they do keep showing it, so you would think that I would remember, since it feels like I've kind of already played the game. But we do have one good piece of news for Far Cry 6. It does appear that you won't have to be paying $10 for an upgrade to the PS5 or the Xbox Series version. We can see this posted up over on Twitter from the Far Cry game account, saying buy Far Cry 6 on Xbox One or PlayStation 4 game and upgrade to the Xbox Series or PlayStation 5 version at no additional cost. Now, they're able to do this because it appears that it's going to be $60 on either generation. So Xbox One or Series 60, PS4, PS5, 60. The thing that Sony runs into, as well as EA, Take-Two, all of this, they want to leverage that $70 price, so they have to have the 60 and 70 with an upgrade path. Otherwise, everyone would just buy the last-gen version of the game. It's good to see Far Cry 6 doing this because, to be honest, like I said, it hasn't really created the big splash that I think Ubisoft was looking for, so at least you'll be able to buy it knowing that if you do get a PS5 or an Xbox Series for the holiday, you'll be able to just upgrade and play it on your new system for free. Oh, and since Sony released that beta firmware that allowed us to put NVMe drives in our PlayStation 5, we have seen many different combinations of NVMe drives and heat sinks attempted to be used in this system, the PS5, even if it's not up to spec. Well, there is one new idea that appears to be something that Sabrent is going to pursue and release. This was posted up on their YouTube account that shows off a new type of heatsink. It would replace the metal shield that would normally go over the NVMe SSD here. And I like the idea. I'm actually surprised that Sony didn't do this in the first place, because the metal shielding should be more than enough to cool the NVMe drive underneath, and it's weird that they ask us to get a heatsink for it when they could probably just have their own thermal padding attached to that metal heatsink. No word on when this would be coming out from Sabrent. More or less, they just kind of showed it off, and I guess the idea makes sense. We'll just have to see if the price makes sense. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with PlayStation's showcase that will be happening tomorrow afternoon. Like I said, very excited for this showcase, as it looks like they will have some big-time announcements there that should generate quite a bit of excitement, some hype, all of this, some stuff to look forward to is what I'll say right now. But there were some leaks that were circulating all over the place. I was surprised that people still take these as seriously as they appear to be online. For example, you can see this one here. Now, this clearly you look at and you say, okay, would someone really just have this laying around on a computer screen where someone could just take a picture with their phone and then post it up online? And would it really look like this? It doesn't look like a lot of work went into this one here. And we've seen this quite a bit. We see it with directs all the time. Remember when someone printed it out and took a picture like it was just laying on the table with like the Nintendo Switch letterhead at the top and all this? But well, let's take a look. They even have like timestamps on the left side there. At least they try to get a little fancy with it. What they should do is make it look like they're running past the computer screen, so like they just got caught when they saw it. Just different things they could do to add to the storyline of how this leak got out there. But it starts the opening video in Jim Ryan's speech. Yeah, I guess Jim Ryan would probably make a speech in the beginning. Everyone seems to like him. And then we have Jim Ryan and Toriyama, world premiere trailer, Horizon Forbidden West gameplay trailer. Haven't seen that before. And then we have a welcome message with a world premiere from Yoshinori. Gran Turismo 7 gets a trailer, a PlayStation 5 controller color. And then we have Abandoned and Hassan Karaman. I don't think Abandoned is going to be in a PlayStation showcase. People still believe that Abandoned is something more than, well, a smaller indie studio who's trying to take advantage of a lot of the, I guess, just mystery that they have drummed up around this game. Again, people still think it's Kojima behind the scenes, and I feel like we should kind of move past this whole thing by now with a world premiere for it, and then a developer interview apparently with Hassan Karaman, Bluepoint, and PlayStation Studios. I assume that's just announcing the acquisition of Bluepoint. I don't know why Sony would announce that at a show. It would seem very strange for them to pre-record a whole thing to tell us that they had purchased Bluepoint, whereas they would probably do what they did with Housemarque, for example, where they just kind of put out a press release and say, hey, Bluepoint's now part of the PlayStation Studios family. And then we appear to have a PlayStation Plus update. We have God of War Ragnarok, a reveal trailer, which that's probably the most legitimate thing that's typed out here in this leak. And then we have PlayStation 5 availability 2022 and another Jim Ryan speech. I don't really know why they would talk about availability with stock at all for 2022, because it's not going to be good news. Like, we know that this issue around chip supply is something that's going to be ongoing for probably at least another 14 months, just according to many of the suppliers like Toshiba. And if you look up and down this supposed leak, I think they're missing several things here just based on some of the talk and rumors. Like, nothing here really screams big showcase. Like, this almost would fall in line with a state of play. I mean, Gran Turismo 7, we've seen that. Horizon Forbidden West, we've seen plenty of that, and we know it's coming up here already in February, so don't even have to reveal a release date to us. God of War Ragnarok is the biggest thing here, and they wouldn't even really be talking about much beyond, let's say, Horizon Forbidden West and Gran Turismo 7. I mean, like, in the future, like 2023, for example, maybe like a Spider-Man 2. So if you see these going around, I feel like it should be obvious by now. It's not an actual leak. So if you see these, just kind of, like, I guess just look past them and don't really give them too much notice. Look, the showcase is tomorrow, and I think we're going to see some pretty good stuff. Certainly nothing like this outside of maybe the God of War reveal and maybe even some gameplay for it. So we'll see what we have tomorrow. Probably not something that's going to be typed out in Notepad with a PlayStation Studios logo at the top. Next up, let's talk about Alan Wake, as that Alan Wake remaster that we had just talked about has officially been announced. It's exciting stuff for fans of the game from back on the 360 and the PC, as it looks like it will be coming to next-gen or even current-gen systems, as we would call them now, with the PS5 and the Series X, and even taking advantage of some features. We can see this over on the alanwake.info website, where they say, announcing Alan Wake Remaster, an open letter from Sam Lake. I mean, start out, this is for you. I'm beyond happy to tell you, at the time of writing this, Alan Wake Remastered is nearing its completion. Confirmed, announced, coming up in partnership with Epic Games Publishing, multi-platform, PC on the Epic Game Store, Xbox, and for the first time ever, PlayStation, this generation and the previous one. They go on to say the original game was only available for Xbox 360 and a few years later, PC. We are thrilled about the opportunity to bring the remastered version out for a new generation of platforms. I am excited to hear what you think about Alan Wake. Alan Wake Remastered is the original experience you fell in love with all those years ago. We did not want to change that, but the visuals all around, including the character model of Alan Wake himself and the cinematics, have been updated and improved with some choice next generation upgrades. Alan Wake Remastered will launch this fall. Stay tuned for more information soon. They also have the systems listed here that the game will be coming to, which includes PC through the Epic Game Store, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox Series X, S, Xbox One, all of this. So this is exciting stuff. They do mention next-gen features or choice next-gen features, and the first one that comes to mind is ray tracing, as there were some really cool lighting effects in Alan Wake back on the Xbox 360. So yeah, I think they do some really cool stuff with that. Potentially 3D audio, I think that'd be cool as well. And then advanced haptic feedbacks, maybe some of the adaptive triggers on the PlayStation 5. I would like to see more third-party games take advantage of that DualSense controller, as I feel like sometimes they just kind of look past it, or they're just not able to develop for that controller. Alan Wake's gonna be on a ton of different systems, so obviously they won't be able to develop exclusively for that DualSense, but I think there's a lot there they could take advantage for. But either way, it's exciting stuff for Alan Wake fans, and I do wonder, because that Alan Wake sequel is apparently in development, if they add a little extra into Alan Wake Remastered here, maybe to set up Alan Wake 2 or sequel or something more in the universe for Alan Wake here. Maybe they have a little extra piece of content at the end, or just something kind of to nod towards that, but exciting stuff here. The rumors before were kind of pointing towards the first week of October for its release, so I would assume that we're going to see something around this in terms of a reveal trailer here pretty soon, so we'll keep an eye out for it. Next up, let's talk about one of my favorite GameCube games, and that is Metroid Prime. When the game came out, it looked incredible. Like, you can go back and play it now on the GameCube, and it still looks really good, and that was back in 2001. But it does turn out that Retro Studios had to put quite a bit of time into this, and it wasn't an easy development cycle to get this game done and out the door in time. In fact, it appears that there was quite a bit of crunch that went into this game, and it turns out Nintendo didn't really like that. Now, we can take a look here. This was transcribed by Nintendo Life from Reese Riley and the Kiwi Talks podcast, where they were talking with an employee from Retro Studios who had worked on several of the projects. This was Mike Wicken, and this is what they had to say. After Metroid Prime 1, we rarely crunched. We had a change of leadership between 1 and 2. We had some crunch in 2, but it wasn't the 9-month death march that we had at the end of Prime 1. That was the worst. I had 2 times where I was there 48 hours straight with 1 hour of sleep, and then a couple of 36-hour days for the last 9 months. We were there pretty much 24/7. At the end of that time, everyone was ready to quit. We were like, we're done. I had 2 job offers from 2 different companies, and to their credit, Nintendo realized what was going on and took over the company. They bought it out. This you can actually go back and take a look. Nintendo bought out, I believe, enough shares or stock from the ownership there, and they were able to then take over Retro Studios. They put Michael in charge. He's a sweetheart, really good. He was head of Nintendo's QA department. He said, guys, give me a few weeks turnaround, and he did. He restored faith in leadership and in the company. I loved working for Nintendo. Now, like I said, Metroid Prime was an incredible achievement on the GameCube. Metroid Prime 2, still a very good game, but not as good as Prime 1. And it is interesting to see Nintendo take such a hard stance on crunch, where we see many places kind of talk about it, and we see different things being called out now. But then we hear about Animal Crossing that just gets delayed because they didn't want their employees to crunch. And we see Nintendo coming in, buying out Retro Studios essentially, and changing the culture completely, leaning away from crunch. And the fact that it was a 9-month, as they say, death march, where they're there 24/7 in order to get this game out on time. It's good to see Nintendo. I mean, this is a long time ago, but good to hear that even back then in the early 2000s, Nintendo was very much against crunch, and it continues on to this day. That's not to say that there wouldn't still be crunch at times, as is mentioned here with Metroid Prime 2, and I'm sure there is still crunch that goes on at Nintendo because it is something that is like industry-wide, but certainly not what was described here with Metroid Prime. So like I said, it's like 2 decades later, but good on Nintendo for taking care of that back then with Retro Studios. Oh, and Mike did say something about Metroid Prime 4. I know a lot of us are still waiting to find out more about this game outside of the JPEG that they dropped a long time ago. We can see this here where he says, and Metroid Prime 4 will be great. A lot of the core designers on the team are guys who were there when I was. They understand what a Metroid game is. And I do believe that's one of the reasons Nintendo handed it off to Retro Studios, because there's a lot of developers who've been there for a while and understand what makes Metroid Prime great. And I think it's pretty obvious that Nintendo ran into issues, so they turned to the masters of Metroid Prime. So I am still excited for Metroid Prime 4. I hope we find out more about it next year in 2022. I know it got rebooted at the end of 2018 going into 2019, so maybe it is about time we saw it. And hey, if Metroid Dread continues on like it seems to with a lot of hype around it, we could be heading into a massive reveal next year for Metroid Prime 4. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a mobile game very quickly. And I know you're thinking, why would we talk about a mobile game since people check out constantly when they're in a presentation next to console games? Well, this one in particular made me realize just how far we've come with some of these mobile phone games. I know we've had Call of Duty on phones, but think of Battlefield on your cell phone. Well, that's something that popped up pretty recently on the Google Play Store. We can see this over on VGC, saying a listing for Battlefield Mobile has appeared on the Google Play Store. It says, according to the game's description, Battlefield Mobile will include large-scale battles, destructible environments, a range of game modes, and customizable classes with unique hero characters. And this had already been announced previously, so it's not surprising to see it pop up. In fact, we are kind of anticipating a beta on Google Play for this game ahead of its launch. I assume it's going to be free to play, and I'm sure there'll be gotcha mechanics, microtransactions, all these different ways that you can pour more money into the game. I was just thinking back to playing Snake on a phone, and now we're to the point where we're going to have legitimate Battlefield on a cell phone. I might just download it to check it out, just to have that experience of what it's like to play Battlefield with these large-scale battles on the thing you usually use to text people with, because no one really talks on their phones anymore, do they? And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, are you picking up Deathloop next week? And 5% said, yes, I'm grabbing it ASAP. I did notice that 52% just said they're not interested in it. 20% said no, might wait for a sale later. And well, 23% said, I still need to find a PS5 first. Some of you mentioned in the comments, oh, well, it's coming to Game Pass next year, right? I mean, it has a year of exclusivity apparently, so I guess it's Microsoft Studio now, so sure, they would just throw it on Game Pass, but we don't actually have that information yet. It hasn't been confirmed. So I was just curious how many people were going to be picking up Deathloop next week. I feel like we've seen this game so many times now. However, the previews were pretty strong for the game. People seem to enjoy it, so I think the reviews are going to be good for it as well. I just feel like a lot of people are already over the game because we've seen it so many times. I'm going to check it out next week, though, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the podcast that Saturday. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Ochi saying, has it occurred to some of these developers that games don't have to cost millions and millions of dollars? Looking at some of the older games I've been playing and having a ton of fun with that where we're still great sellers, it's easy to feel like people are spoiled by the AAA spectacle these days. And the biggest thing here is, overall, the mainstream notices visuals first. Like, graphics really do work to make that first impression where you just kind of stop and look at it and you're like, wow, this is where we are with games right now, and it works really well to sell something. I noticed it a lot back in the day if I was working at like GameStop or any other stores that people would see it on the TV and they would realize, oh, this isn't a baseball game. Like when MLB The Show would come out, no, this is the new MLB The Show game. And they'd be like, wow, I might have to pick this up because of how good it looks. Didn't care about the gameplay, just how it looked. That's why you see cinematic trailers so often, and people wonder this a lot, and they'll ask that question. It's because that first impression is vital. You have to make a first impression that wows the person who's looking at it so that they remember it in the future. And I mean, with how expensive these games are getting, that first impression means everything. So if they aren't ready to show you gameplay or what the in-game assets look like, they're going to hit you with that cinematic trailer. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was all these PlayStation showcase leaks all over the place. Let me know what your favorite one was, I guess, down below in the comments. Also, what about Retro Studios' Metroid Prime and Nintendo coming in, buying out Retro Studios, and working to eliminate the crunch culture that's taken over for the last 9 months of Metroid Prime's development? And then Alan Wake Remastered, it's official. Are you excited? Let me know. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.